Hi you guys, this is Miss Jess from the Monroe Street Art Center, and I am super excited to bring you guys another mini art kit for the holiday season. This little mini kit is all about wood slices. So we have all of these awesome wooden slices that have been cut out just for this project. With these, we're gonna turn them into ornaments. You can hang them on your Christmas tree. If you don't celebrate Christmas, these do not have to be Christmas ornaments. These can be something for Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or anything that you celebrate, or just about snow in wintertime, okay? So these are the two examples that I've made. This one, you can guess, is the Grinch. And then this one is just a wonderful winter scene. It says Happy Holidays, okay? So I'm gonna show you guys how to use the things in your kits to make these too, but there are so many examples online of how to turn wood slices into works of art. So do a little bit of research, see what kind of design you guys wanna do. It doesn't hurt to draw out maybe what you wanna do first, sketch it out so that you know before you go ahead and start working on your wood slice, okay? Just a little tip. Okay, so for this project, we're pretty much gonna use everything inside of our kits. You guys have 4 different kinds of acrylic paint: green, red, white, and then there's one that's like slightly off-white. This is an acrylic glitter glaze. It is super fun to use. I sometimes call it mermaid paint because it makes everything look super shimmery and shiny afterwards. It's like a really nice top coat for some of these, okay? So those are your 4 acrylic paints. You also have a black permanent marker that we're going to use for our fine lines. Once our paint is dry, we'll use this to draw our black on top of it. Okay. You also have a little tiny paintbrush. Since we're painting smaller wood slices, we're going to use a small little paintbrush. Use that. And then you also have some glitter stickers inside of your kit as well. Feel free to use those if you want. You have some green tissue paper in there too. Feel free to use that if you want to as well. If you have other supplies at home that you want to use, like stickers or googly eyes or yarn or whatever it is, feel free to break all that stuff out. There's so many different ways you guys can take this project, okay? Okay, so to get started, I'm gonna start with my Grinch face here. I'm just gonna use a paper plate for my palette today, so I have a container of water for my paintbrush. I also have just a couple of paper towels because with this paint, it doesn't need any extra water. In fact, when I take my paintbrush out of the water, I want it to be dry before I dip it into my paint, so dry it off, right? All right, so I'm gonna take actually a little bit of each color here and portion it out onto my plate. Like I said, plan this out in advance. Since I only have a little bit of paint, I really don't want to waste it. So I want to make sure that I'm planning this out before I just dive right in. Okay, do a little bit of my white, a little bit of my green, and then I'm gonna wait on my acrylic glitter glaze for right now, just because I know that all my other layers are gonna have to dry first. Go ahead and close these puppies up if you're not using them. They'll stay nice for a little bit longer this way. So the first step to this project is kind of laying down. It's all about layers, right? And then letting the layers dry and then doing the next layer. For the Grinch, there's a couple different basic layers that we're gonna stick down. Green for the Grinch's face. If you want your Grinch to wear a little like Christmas hat or Santa hat, you're gonna also need to apply a little bit of white and a little bit of red to the very top of your wood slice. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. My wood slices have this little thing cut out of it. This could be great for like a Pac-Man face, by the way. I just thought of that. But what I'm gonna start doing is applying my green towards the bottom. Maybe like 2/3 of this is gonna be green. Do this on a surface that you can get a little messy. It is acrylic paint, which means it is a little tricky to get out of clothing. Just prepare your workspace, prepare your outfit in case you get a little paint on you. Of course, since they're wood slices too, prepare to get your fingers a little bit messy, okay? So the wood is also going to absorb this paint rather quickly, which works in our favor because that means we can move a little quicker when we paint it. I'm actually gonna go inside of this little divot and paint that too. Okay. Awesome. I spread it out really nice and thin and even. That's something that's gonna help it dry a little faster too. If you have really thick blobs on here, it's gonna take a little bit to dry, okay? Done with my green, I'm gonna go ahead and rinse my brush. For my Santa Claus hat, It's gonna have, the next color is gonna be a stripe of white, and then on the very top is gonna be red. Okay, again, dry my brush off. Oof, good idea, because sometimes paint hides in our bristles, and I don't want any green to be mixed into my white. So now that it's clean and dry, I'm gonna go ahead and dip it into my white, and I'm gonna paint a stripe of white before I do my red. Up to you guys if you feel like painting like the side of your wood slice. I don't think I'm going to today. There's my stripe of white. Rinse it one last time. And then I can do red at the very top, dry it off, get all that little hidden paint out of there. Okay, dip it in my red. And now this goes at the very top. Nice, smooth and even. Be careful if your white paint is still a little bit wet, because when red and white mix together, we know they make pink, okay? So these are the very first layers for my Grinch. While this is drying, I'm actually gonna go ahead and apply the first layers of my like snowman sunset happy holiday ornament. Okay, so for this one, I'm gonna do a little bit of color mixing. Since I have very limited colors on my palette right now, I'm just gonna have to get creative with the colors that I can mix. I know, like I said, that when I mix red and white, it's going to make a pink. So here's what I'm gonna do for my background on this one. I'm gonna start with some white at the top. But then, while the white is still on my paintbrush, I'm actually gonna dip it in the red without even rinsing it and start to mix that on top of it. This is gonna create a really cool like fading effect from light pink to medium pink, dark pink, and then red. Dip it in again. Wow, this is beautiful. Okay, one last little swipe. Voila, now I've got a little sunset, okay? Notice how I didn't bring my red all the way down to the bottom. You could if you want to, but I'm leaving that last little space for snow. Since I'm gonna have snow on the bottom anyway, I don't really need to cover it up with red. Rinse my brush off really good this time, right? Especially since I'm going in with some white now for the snow. Dry it, get all that paint out of there. Dip it in my white, and then I'm gonna add a layer of white at the bottom. Oh no, you can see I got a little bit of pink mixed in because my red is still wet. I wasn't patient enough. Okay. All right, so this is the first layer for my snowman project. Okay, now I can actually, looks like I'm ready to go back and start doing my Grinch face. The Grinch's eyes are yellow on this one. I used a different marker to do this part. For today, I'm actually just gonna use the white and turn his eyes white. So, rinse my brush, dip it in the white. The eyes on the Grinch are kind of like almond shape, so very carefully and slowly. I'm just gonna put too little, and I'll hold it up here so you guys can see it in a second. Two little almond shaped spots, and of course I will have to let these dry before I can do my Sharpie on top of it. Notice how I'm avoiding my little crack in the side here. That's okay, I'll just work around it. Okay, awesome. All right, let's check out my sunset. You won't believe how fast this dries, you guys. I always do like a finger check. If you're not sure if it's totally dry, take a finger and touch it and maybe even swipe it. And if your finger comes off dry, it's probably ready to go. Just for the sake of keeping this video a little shorter, instead of painting 3 little snowmen, I'm just gonna do 1 little snowman on here today. So rinse my brush, dry it off, and dip it in the white. Snowman is usually 3 circles, 1 small, 1 medium, 1 large. There's my small. There's my medium. And then my large. Something else you can do with your paintbrush, I'm gonna rinse it off again. Notice how I made little snowflakes in the background, little dots? If I actually use my paintbrush, I flip it over and use the end. dip it in my white, and that's gonna make a perfect little circle spot. Isn't that cool? So I'm gonna add a few of these. Dip, dip, dip. So satisfying. Okay. So now that I've got quite a few snowflakes, I'm gonna let this dry. Both of mine right now I need a little bit of dry time, okay? For the Grinch's eyes and then also for my snowman and my snowflakes to dry. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and pause the video, let these dry. When I come back, I'll show you the final touches for this, okay? Have fun with this first step. If you have something else to work on in the meantime while they're drying, read a book, go outside, do another art project, okay? Have fun. All right, you guys, so I am back. My first layers are dry and they are ready to continue with my design. So what I'm gonna do now is put on the final touches of my Grinch face. Like I said, the eyes are usually yellow. So what I'm gonna do now that my two little spots of white paint are dry, I'm actually just gonna take a yellow Crayola marker and color back over them to turn them white, or to turn them yellow. So obviously, like I said, if you guys have other supplies at home that you want to use for this project, feel free. So now they're yellow. I'm gonna take my black Sharpie. I'm gonna try and copy this one that I originally did, right? Like I said, use references from online. There's like so many different ways to draw things on your wooden slices. So that's how I got to draw this Grinch face. So I got my Sharpie here, right? My black permanent marker. And I'm gonna start to sketch around his eyes. Obviously, with a black Sharpie, I can't erase, right? So the trick is gonna be to go slow, right? Take your time with this project. If you accidentally make a mistake, the good news is acrylic paint does cover up anything that you've done that you've messed up on. So if you needed to, you could totally redo it and start again, okay? So I'm gonna hold this up in just a minute for you guys. Spend a little time sketching it out here. This is super important to make sure that your paint is dry. If your paint is still wet, this is not gonna work well. The Sharpie is gonna get stuck in your paint. It's probably gonna ruin your Sharpie. So you really do need to be patient while you let this part just dry. Oh my gosh, I almost like this one even more, you guys. I'm gonna show you in a second. Okay, that's what we got so far. Now, if I wanted to, I can even add like around that white stripe that I painted. If I add some little arches to the top and the bottom, kind of makes it look like it's like fluffy on the top of the hat, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Just some little details, make it look a little more fluffy, like a real Santa Claus hat. Okay, all right, I think he looks awesome. So final touches for this one. If I wanted to, I could use some of this acrylic glitter glaze, which I think I am. So take my cap off, portion out a little bit onto my plate, doesn't take much. Put the cap back on so it stays nice and wet until next time. And then with my paintbrush, I'm gonna dip it in this glaze. The glaze looks like it's gonna dry yellow, but it won't. It will dry clear and sparkly. So I'm gonna put a layer of that right across that strip. If you wanted to, you could even put a little dot on the eyes, like maybe those will be sparkly once they dry. Okay. And then the last thing, if you wanted to, I'm gonna add a little tiny sparkly snowflake to the very top of the hat so it looks like a little pom-pom on top. Santa Claus hat. Peel it off and stick it down, okay? From here, there's that little tiny hole at the very top of your wood slice. You can go ahead and put your ribbon through that, tie it at the top so that you can actually hang it somewhere if you wanted to, okay? So there's what this guy looks like. Turned out really cool. So for my second one, I can now put the final touches on my little snowman. For this part, I am gonna use some other colors of Crayola markers. For example, the orange nose, like a little carrot nose for my snowman, is gonna be an orange Crayola marker. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that part first. Just sketch out a little triangle. Here's where I'm gonna use my black Sharpie to add the eyes, the smile, the buttons, right? Maybe you wanna add a little black top hat. Maybe I'll do that too. A little top hat for my snowman, and I'll hold this up in just a second so you guys can see better. Again, super important that your paint is totally dry for this step, okay? I can add little snowman arms. Okay, the last couple of touches that I think I want to do on this are a little bit of that glitter glaze. Why? Because it's so awesome. Dry my brush off, take my glitter glaze, and I'm going to put this anywhere that I have white because I want my snow to look super sparkly. Dip, dip, dip. Paint it across. Maybe I'll even put some on my snowman's body. Sparkling. And then if I wanted to, I could write happy holidays across the top. I could write let it snow. I actually think I like that. I'm gonna write that. So I take my black Sharpie across the top. Let it snow. Okay. And now I also want to use a couple of extra stickers on this one as well, just to make it fancy. So I peel the back off, and you can stick it anywhere you want to. Peel it off. Got like 2 more here I'm gonna stick down. 1 and 2. Voila. Okay, I love how these turned out, you guys. So of course the very last thing is to find that hole. Go ahead and put your ribbon through so that you guys can hang these up. Think about this. There are 2 sides to every wood slice. If you wanted to do a different design on the back, go ahead and do a different design on the back. Just make sure the front is totally dry. That way, when it turns on the tree or a doorknob or wherever you want to hang this, you can see 2 different designs on the front and on the back, okay? Have fun with this project, you guys. I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. Happy holidays.